Hey there, fierce ladies and gun enthusiasts. Welcome back to Liberty Lipstick and Lead, your go-to podcast for all things firearms from a woman's perspective. I am your host, Ursula Ann, and today we're delighted to welcome Heather Allen, author of 50 States in My Sights. Heather's book is a captivating exploration of her journey through all 50 states, documenting her experiences with firearms along the way. So grab your favorite notebook and pen because Heather is about to share her adventures, insights, and the inspiration behind her book. You won't want to miss this episode of Liberty Lipstick and Lead. All right. It is so nice to meet you. I'm so excited. Thank you for coming on my podcast, my little itty bitty podcast. So talk to me a little bit about yourself. This is Heather. You are high caliber _
NC. I had to swap that from OC. We moved to North Carolina. So
cool. That's awesome. Tell me a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into this whole thing? Yeah. And don't think we're not going to talk about this because I have.
All right. We're just saying I was also born and raised in California. I was Long Beach. We also lived in Orange County for many years. And I started working for the California Rifle Pistol Association, which, if you can believe it, it actually originated in San Francisco, of all places.
Oh, no way.
The California Rifle Pistol Association. So they're fighting hard for California's gun rights. And I just got really into Second Amendment rights, constitutional rights. I started teaching basic handgun lessons to a lot of females in California. And then we followed millions of people moved out of California to North Carolina. I noticed a lot of people weren't asking me to teach them how to shoot. It was like, can you help me get my concealed carry permit? Where when I left Los Angeles, the approval rate to get a concealed carry permit was something like 0.002% success rate. Definitely different out here in North Carolina. So I just got into it, started teaching classes, and now I'm actually on the board of the North Carolina Concealed Carry Instructor Association. So it's been a fun ride.
Very cool. That's awesome. So you're teaching, you started off just teaching people, and now you're helping them get their concealed carry license. But then you were talking a little bit, and what caught my attention was that there aren't a lot of FFL female license. So talk to me a little bit about that, because all I know is that invites the government all up in your business. So tell me.
Yeah, that was a 5-hour sit down in my home with the ATF. And I joke, like, when they knocked on the door, first thing out of my mouth was, my dog's really friendly. I have a very friendly dog. So nice. But dogs survive. But yeah, I also started teaching ladies' night. So the first Thursday of the month, I get a bunch of ladies and we all shoot. So much fun. And I noticed some were like, hey, do you sell guns? And after a while, it was like, why don't I sell guns? I have the opportunity in North Carolina to have a home-based FFL. And that's been a lot of fun as well. But I did notice when I just looked up, it was mostly males, at least in North Carolina. I didn't really look at all of America, so I should do a deep dive and see what the percentages of females who have their FFL. That'd be really interesting.
So besides having an ATF agent come to your home, what? Two? Oh, gosh. I don't know if I could survive that. I might have a heart attack. So what is involved in doing it? Because people tend to think, or at least from my perspective, it's seen as, oh, it's so hard to do. What is actually involved?
There was a lot of paperwork, and I had to mail that off to the headquarters. And 4 months later, it was a $200 check I had to turn in. And when I was walking through the booth of SHOT Show, I found out that the check got cleared. So I was like, all right, let's do this SHOT Show. I'm on my way. And then, it was 4 months total. And then it did have a 5-hour interview with the ATF. And they were actually really nice here in Wilmington. Oh, cool. And then it was only like maybe 1 month after that was when my FFL was cleared. So.
Oh no, I'm losing your video.
Uh-oh. I can still see you.
We got you. We're back. Okay. It's just a little internet glitch. It happens.
It does happen. Yeah.
But yeah, so my goodness, that's awesome. So you're one of the few female FFL holders in North Carolina. We don't know about the rest of the world. That's okay. They're the rest of the United States.
Yeah. I will say I do know a female FFL in Council, Idaho. And she was a plaintiff in a big lawsuit in California. And now she opened up her own gun shop in Council, Idaho.
That's really cool. So do you have plans? I know you said yours is home based, but do you have plans to maybe open up shop somewhere? Is that a different kind of a thing?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe something small. Start out small. It could be. We'll see in the future. It'd be a
Never
thing.
know, right? So when people, I should say, when women are coming to you, because I'm more on the female side of the focus on this particular topic, but when women come to you looking for a firearm or looking to learn how to shoot a firearm, what is one of the most popular firearms that are working for, I would say, like I want to say your demographic, but the people that come to you? I'm curious.
What's interesting is I'll have a whole bunch of guns out and I'll say, try everything, see what you shoot best with, what you're comfortable with, what fits best in your hand. I have a Glock 19 that's almost 20 years old. And if women have a hard time, they last forever, right? But if they have a hard time racking the slide, I'll say, this gun is pretty worn in. If you buy a brand new one, you're going to have it's going to be stiff, right? So then comes in, if they do have a hard time with that, I'll show them the Slide Easy or the Easy Slide from Smith & Wesson. Mm-hmm. So that is a big seller right now for women, I would say.
That's cool. Do you feel like, and these are just random questions that I'm curious about. Do you feel like a lot of women do better with a 9mm, or are we leaning towards a heavier gun that's like 45? I'm just wondering what you're seeing.
It's funny. So my little ladies night I have, the last Thursday was right before the Kentucky Derby. Oh. And I said, ladies, we're going to wear our big hats and we're going to shoot big guns. So I brought my 45, and that's pretty much like the only 45 that's there. Like typically it is like 9mm or 380. I don't see much of the smaller calibers like 22 too often. So I would say, I'd say 9mm 380 are pretty common.
That's cool. Yeah. I, like a lot of people, or I should say like a lot of women, I thought, when I first gun, it's going to be small, it'll be little, it'll be perfect. And the thing near flew out of my hand. So, so then it was like, okay, maybe we should work on some fundamentals, your grip. And
so it's interesting you say that. In 2020, when everyone was buying guns, like everyone and their mom, women would come, it was in Los Angeles, and they'd say, oh, look at the gun I bought. Isn't it so cute? Because it'd be tiny, but maybe a bigger caliber. And I was like, okay, a lot of people don't realize the smaller the gun, the more recoil it's going to have, because the heavier and bigger the gun, the more recoil it'll absorb. Something to learn for people.
It's always something to think about. And I think that's one of those basic things. Talk to me a little bit about, you teach. So what are some of the fundamental things you go over first? What would you, obviously gun safety, always keep your finger off the trigger, watch where you're pointing that thing.
Exactly.
Those are like the basic things that we assume are common sense, but what are some things that you typically run into in like a brand new beginner class?
So just what you said, I'll talk about the safety rules, and I'll talk about the last safety rule I'll talk about is it's a good idea to know what's beyond your target if you're out in the desert, out in the woods. And then I say, because it's a little segue to ammunition, and I have a bunch of dummy rounds. And then I'll say like the little 22s can travel over a mile. And then I go into a whole thing on like ammunition, like the difference between hollow point, full metal jacket, what center fire, rim fire is. And then I typically use a Glock, so I'll go into the actual handgun. For concealed carry classes, it's interesting because North Carolina wants you to know both semi-automatic and about revolvers. Oh, no. So I have to talk about revolvers too, even if people are like, I never want to touch a revolver. I'm like, North Carolina says they want you to know what a revolver is and the parts. And then I show them how to load, unload, and then I have them practice with the dummy rounds, and then I practice a good grip, side loop.
Awesome. I'm having a little bit of recording issue. I'm going to pause. Let me see if it'll let me resume. Awesome. Okay, cool. So I'm going to have you backtrack just a little bit because I'm not sure how much of that last part we got. So just coming in and shooting, you were saying, they were saying that both, you have to know about both the semi-auto and the revolver. That was the part that cut out.
Okay. What's interesting is that the state of North Carolina wants people to know about both semi-automatic and revolvers. So even if clients are like, I never want to touch a revolver. Sorry, state of North Carolina says they want you to learn about this. But I like revolvers. I don't know if you've shot revolvers, but I think they're fun.
I
Oh, you haven't?
feel like they're
Oh.
a Westerny thing, so I have
Yeah,
definitely
totally.
think they're very cool, and I would like to, but I haven't yet. I have not had the
Yeah.
chance. So that brings me to my next question. Do you have any kids? Have you worked with kids and guns before?
Yes.
Back me up.
I have one daughter. Her name's Kyla. She's going to be driving in
Oh my
October,
gosh.
which is so crazy, but she's great. She's a great shot. I talk about her in the book I wrote, how she like totally outshot me in the state of Wyoming. And I was like, go to your room. No, I dare you outshoot me. But I have taught kids. Here's something that is interesting and also infuriating. But when I was in California, I did on my website, I had kids shooting on my website. And there was a few families I went to their homes and they said, we were looking into instructors and we really like yours because we want you to help our kids be safe. And you had kids on your website. 2 summers, it was July 1st, a few years ago, Gavin Newsom, he signed a very vague executive order, exactly like your face says it all. And it was that you could not solicit guns to children. So
Oh,
I worked at a few ranges and they're like, we teach like youth safety classes. Is that soliciting guns? And it came with a hefty $25,000 fine per violation. And I had friends like Rifle Supply, they removed their youth size t-shirts that said Rifle Supply. So in my mind, I was like, if I was back there because I had kids on my website, would I have been fined $25,000?
right.
So it's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's
Yeah.
woof. We can start on the gun laws in California and go a whole 9 yards and then some.
Right.
We try not to get into Gavin Newsom. Wow. But anywho, glad you got out of that area. But in North Carolina, I'm assuming things are a little more lax. I don't want to say country states
Oh, yeah.
we're a little easier
Absolutely.
on that idea.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of youth shooters, so I understand why California. But anywho, how is it going there? Have you had a chance to start any youth classes in North Carolina? Is that
Yeah, I've definitely taught a few. I've taken like some neighbors' kids and went over the whole thing. And then I did have a lesson recently and they had a 4-year-old boy and he kept coming up. It was inside the house. We are going over the laws and he said, can I show you my pew pews? Let me show
Aw.
you my pew pews. And they were like, okay, yes. So we like had his like little toy guns out and I put him on my gun mat and he was all excited, but it's so cute.
awesome?
Yeah.
That's cool. So, did you grow up shooting, or did you come into this later on in life? What led you to this part of your career?
Yeah. I feel like it was typical in California. Maybe you could relate to, but like my dad had a gun, but it was always, it's under the bed, don't touch it. It's in the closet, don't touch it. And I was like, oh, let's go surfing. I like wasn't really interested. But my husband, I met him when I was 24 and he was in the Navy. He's like special warfare. And then he worked for the LA County Sheriff's Department for 15 years.
Okay.
And I remember him telling me like, it's a long response time. Like people don't understand, like when you call 911, like 15, 20 minutes, like that's a good response time. And he would be gone for the Navy Reserves. I had a little baby in the house. And I remember like the guns were there. I was like, I should probably learn how to use one of these. Like we're all our own first responders. And then when I started working for the California Rifle Pistol Association, that's when I like really dove in, you could say.
Okay. So, as a mom with guns at home, are there any special considerations that you feel like maybe before you had a baby that you weren't thinking about, or different ways that you like to carry now? Or then she's 16 now, so gosh,
Yeah.
driving. So it's not really as big of a thing now. But when they're little, I feel like, especially for someone like me who didn't come from a family of any guns at all, my mom was very guns are bad when I was little. So that wasn't even like an option of having one in the house, let alone talking about it. So how did you, since your husband was into it, maybe it was an easier idea, but how did you carry outside the home? Did you carry inside the home? I'm curious, just whatever you feel like.
Yeah, we pretty much have always had a gun in the house since she was born. And what's been interesting is I remember teaching, I think they're about 10-year-old boys. And inside the house, when we were using the dummy rounds and practicing, you could see they're like, oh, look at me. It's almost like a video game type of thing. That all changed as soon as we stepped into the shooting range. It's loud. When they did squeeze the trigger, it had the recoil and just like everything changed. So I think once kids do shoot, even if it's just a 22, like they can see that it's not a toy. This will destroy whatever is in front of it when you pull the trigger. So I think I think they're pretty much out of sight, out of mind when she was little, which is interesting because she's a girl and I have friends with young boys and they're like, oh no, they're locked because our boys will find them. Like they will sense it and they will find, because like they're so interested in stuff. So I think it's just really ingraining in them that like you can only see this with an adult. And they have that whole Eddie Eagle from the NRA, which have saved so many lives. That little cheesy song that stop, don't touch, run away, tell a grown up. Like, it's so like catchy, but I think just ingraining that in kids, like I think it should be in every elementary school having.
Agreed. Yes. No, I'm with you there. Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's a tool like any other tool, but then again, we've taken away wood shop and so many other things. But it's a skill that everyone should know, especially considering our Constitution and where we came from and our history. It's like, respect for that should be taught. And I also feel that's something that keeps you honest in a way. I was talking to someone else about this the other day. The honesty that comes with the responsibility, or maybe it's the responsibility that comes with the honesty. I don't know. But for me, I was like, okay, so now that we have this, I have to teach you what to do, what not to do. This is what it can do, how it's supposed to be used. Same way you would use a screwdriver. And people are like, but that's like it's a deadly weapon. And I'm like, the screwdriver in the right hand can also be a deadly weapon. You fall on it, you stab somebody with it. It's all over. It's like the same thing. Yeah. So definitely, I agree. We should have that and I think they used to have ROTC in school. Like my husband, that was the first time I even assembled or disassembled and reassembled anything. He was like, and they were allowed to bring it to school. Granted, he's older than me. He's 50. So we did that back in the olden days, but I like
the good old days.
But yeah, definitely. Those are some things that would be very cool. I don't even think they would attempt that in even like Christian private schools these days, right? Like it's such a taboo subject, but hopefully we can take a little bit of the stigma off of that. So let's see. What are some things that you wish people knew or you wish you had known about firearms, either growing up or as a young mom? What do you think people need to know, Heather?
I think if women are timid and they're just like, I'm against guns or I'm too scared, it's typically the women who are like, girl power, which is mind blowing. So to me, it's just know that you are capable. This is an inanimate object and it's only going to fire when you squeeze the trigger, and you are capable and you can put your safety into your own hands. So I think that's good for women to understand.
Absolutely. Do you want to ask me anything?
Yeah. How did you get into all of this?
Oh, my goodness.
World. Have you always been like pretty political, or did that come later in life?
So I'm okay. My husband doesn't want me to say my age, but anyways, I'm in my early 40s. When we first had our first kiddo, Isaiah, who's almost, he's going to be 22 this year. I know, I'm old enough. It's okay. So I did everything the doctors told me to do. I cried when Obama was sworn into office. I was a total Democrat. You wouldn't even know who that person was today, like listening to me now or talking to me now. Isaiah, like I said, I did everything, every shot, every on schedule, if not early, like all the things on the same day. So fast forward to his 12-month baby visit, and he had his shots, right? And gave him a bath, gave him Tylenol. Oh my gosh. He screamed all night and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And the next day he broke out in a rash. He basically got measles from the measles vaccine. And I was like, but what? But you told me to do that.
Right.
About 2 weeks later, we were in the hospital and they couldn't find a vein and he was extremely dehydrated. He wouldn't drink or eat, and he just was peeing constantly. And I'm like, something's not right. It looks like he might be having trouble breathing. Like, I really think I need to see you right now. And we go to the doctor and she's, I'm going to send you to the emergency room because he looks like he has diabetes. And so they diagnosed him. We got there, he had diabetes, and we were in there for 10 days. And basically he almost died.
Oh my God.
The thing that struck me was that the nurses were like, wow, we haven't had anybody today. He's our first one of the day. We were in the NICU and they were just like, we should have more. There should be more than this. And this was 20 years ago. So then I was like, something's not right. We won't be doing any more of that. I trusted you. I trusted all these things. Why? And so I started speaking out, and I lost a lot of people that way. People thought I was crazy. You're
just weeding out the losers. That's what I tell people.
I know. So that was my first foray into speaking my mind about anything. And at the time, I didn't even know I was being any kind of political or going against the grain. I just knew that this had hurt my baby and I wasn't going to continue. It was very surprising to be met with so much cognitive dissonance. So you've known me for this many years. I had a baby. He was originally healthy. But now we're going through this and now you think I'm a conspiracy theorist? I was like, but you saw what just happened to your nephew, cousin, grandson. Like, why you think I'm crazy?
It actually happened. It was not a conspiracy, right?
Yeah. Jeez. So after that, I was just like, okay, well, what else are they not telling us? And I couldn't keep my mouth shut. So here we are about 111,000 followers later. And it's like, what?
Good for you. Yeah.
The follower count is what? I don't actually know if that has any kind of impact, but I just keep speaking my mind and people seem to
agree.
Yes. So we went from there. And then as for like firearms, like I never shot anything. And after we had Isaiah, which was like my husband, Richard, and he was like, we probably should get a gun in the house. And I was like, what for? We're in California. I hadn't gotten that far yet. Your government loves you. And I remember the first time I think I shot a 45 and I was just like, wow.
Well, yeah.
So that's what these can do. And I was like, that might be a little big for me. And then I shot a 9mm and I was like, okay, that's better. And
that's an interesting way to go about it. Start with a 45.
Go down a little bit. And I was always, every time I'd be like, oh my God. So we went down and then I had shot an AR, which of course is like the gateway. It's like the gateway drug of guns. You get a firearm, get a pistol, and then you're like, oh, what about an AR? You shoot the AR and you're like, oh.
Can we tell everyone what AR stands for? Maybe some listeners don't know. Maybe they think it stands for assault rifle or...
There's so many different ideas. It does not stand for assault rifle. Go ahead.
It's Armalite, everybody. Armalite rifle. Now, I teach that in every class just because I'm like, now you can tell everyone.
Common misconceptions, right? They're like, it's an assault rifle. I'm like, no, it's not. No,
I made up words.
Assault somebody with it. You could take it and hit him. If it doesn't work, you could just hit him with it. Right. But nope, Armalite. The common misconceptions about so many things, just like everyone thinking that an AR is always going to be fully automatic. I'm like,
oh yeah, exactly.
Almost, right? Like no, one at a time.
Have you ever shot fully automatic?
I haven't. No, I haven't. I really want to. I'm
sure in Idaho, but I'm sure there's somewhere in Idaho you can do that, make that happen.
I was thinking that someone might like have a day class. You could go and have some fun. I haven't there yet. I just got my Girl and a Gun membership, so I'm hoping to.
Oh, good for you.
And the other Ursula 308, she was, you need to go do a pistol match. And I was like, I don't know. Okay, fine. Yeah. I don't think. But yeah, so that was the best thing was shooting the AR for the first time. And then I shot a 22 and I stopped flinching. And then I was like, that was like, it's on, we're going.
Yeah. Almost like a BB gun at that point.
Yeah. Which another lady I've spoken to, Katrina from Alpha Female Tactical, she starts people off with BB guns just to get in the habit of it. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Especially, and I figure like for kids and stuff too, that would be a great way, a little less danger, right? You still shoot your eye out, kid. But it's a good little segue into something like a 22, especially for maybe smaller humans of the same age, right? Like my son is 8 and he's like very tiny. So I worry about him. I'm like, you're ready, but I don't know if it's quite there yet. But let me just ask you, what are some common misconceptions? What are some things that you wish people knew that you come across and that just, I don't know, maybe mind blowing?
Okay, here's some statistics for you. It's unfortunate that there's about 30,000 deaths in America when it comes to, you could call it American gun violence statistics. It's almost 64% are suicides with firearms, which again is like really tragic. There's 2 organizations really trying to combat that right now. One's called Walk the Talk America and one is Hold My Guns. And then I don't know if you remember, but it was a guy who wasn't supposed to be in America. He was deported like 7 times for horrible things, found himself back in Napa County. He was pulled over by a female deputy. And as soon as she pulled him over, he shot at her. It's all on video. She like does a matrix, dodges the bullet, and then she shoots him. So this person who was kicked out for like sex crimes and like terrible things, he tries to shoot a female deputy. He's dead. And now that person is a American gun statistic. So I think that's something to have in mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
My goodness. Props to that female officer, let me just say.
Yeah.
Dang, dude. That's another thing that I try to keep the mass amount of the politics out, like the adjoining politics out of this, but it's really not possible. It's all connected. Our rights are under attack. Our constitutional rights are under attack. I read something just this morning. I can't even remember exactly what the headline was, but I was just like, wow, there it goes again. Oh, that's what it was. Certain parts of the Bible you can't say anymore. I was like, what?
Makes no sense. Yeah. Gosh.
That goes against so many things. I don't even know where to
So
start.
many.
But yeah, I'll still be talking about Jesus, so they can stick it where the sun don't shine on that one. But my goodness, Heather, I really appreciate you being on. I didn't have a massive amount of stuff to talk about, but thank you so much for hopping on and giving me your time.
Yeah.
Anything that we missed that maybe you might like to share or talk about? Because I'm
excited. So I'm also a range safety officer, and I found myself when I was like, range is hot, range is cold. I'd put my ears on, I'd like put them down, and then I couldn't find them. Or if I had the little buds, I'd take them out, or I'd turn around, they'd fall out. So there's nothing on the market like this, but I'm so proud of myself. I made this like headband with ear protection. I'll have to send you a pair.
I love it.
But they're going to go on my website soon. I'm not that tech savvy, as you can probably see. So I'm going to figure out how to put these on my website. But I'm so excited about these. I use them every time I go to the range.
And they're like little Rosie the Riveter like headbands. I'm gonna need some. Of course. I can talk about them all over the place. Also, for anybody who's watching or even just listening, Heather has an amazing book, 50 States, in my sights. I absolutely love this. I am all up in the Idaho state because of
nice. Yeah, beautiful.
If you haven't had a chance, I would definitely recommend hopping over. You can get it on Amazon, right, or on your website. Yeah, and it's not, you're supporting Heather, which is also amazing, but also you're going to get a lot of really good information. Oh, that brings the things. How was the 3-year trip through the United States? You went to all 50 states? I don't even think there's many Americans that can say that.
Yeah. I kind of joke. I don't know if you got to the part in the book where I talk about how all my friends also moved out of California. So it was like, hey, do you want to shoot with me in Florida, Oklahoma, Indiana, like all the states people have moved to. So that definitely made it easier. But yeah, it was a good time. And there's lots of places I want to go back to, bring my family back. They didn't get to go. But Idaho was the first state that like I had never been to just a beautiful outdoor range surrounded by like gorgeous trees, completely free. Yeah. I was like looking around like, what? Like, this is free? That's crazy. It was really fun.
So pretty. Yeah. My husband took me out not too long ago, I think last month, and I was just like, so we can just hang out here? He's like, yeah, it's public. I was like, what do we mean by public exactly? He's like, dude, it's here for us. The mountains are in the background. I was just like, and we just have our own little space, you know. Oh, man, this is wonderful. But Definitely love Idaho. They're very cool people here. I was told originally when we moved there, there's no black people there and they're going to be racist. And I'm like, dude, what planet are you on? Everybody in Idaho, other than some of the coming over Californians that aren't as cool as us. Yeah. The Idahoans, the natives, are amazing. Just the sweetest people. Even, okay, this doesn't sound very funny, but even the cops are just the coolest.
Oh, yeah.
People. They're so sweet to you. They might pull you over and be like, do you know why I pulled you over? Okay. Well, just hang on just a second. I'll be right back. Can I have your license, please? Just like the nicest people. And Isaiah, he always gets like really nervous meeting new people. And one time I got pulled over, I was speeding, technically. And I was like, so this is my son, Isaiah. He's autistic. And the guy was like, oh, hi, Isaiah. And he just went around. He was like, hey, how's it going? And he like shook his hand and was just like totally sweet to him. And Isaiah was like, okay, cool. I'm good. I'm Isaiah. But yeah.
Speaking of getting pulled over, okay, I hadn't gotten a ticket in over 8 years. I got pulled over twice in 5 days.
Oh my God.
And I had never been pulled over by an unmarked vehicle before. And it was in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, ah. So when the light from inside went on, I like got on my phone, called 911, started to pull over, and I just made sure that this was an actual cop. So something to talk to your kids about. Because when I got home, I mentioned it to my daughter. She's like, what? Like, she had no idea. And I was like, oh, I'm glad that happened because now I could tell her. Like, you absolutely have the right to call 911 pretty much anytime, verify this is an actual police officer. Because that is one thing in North Carolina, there's things that you can have done within 3 years or ever that will prevent you from getting a concealed carry permit. And one is impersonating a cop. So it happens. I know it happened.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. And I just have to point out, because people are always like, oh, if you're going to get racially profiled and someone's going to pull you over. My girl Heather over here. I don't think you can say that.
I mean, I had a pretty good spray tan, but no, I'm definitely white. And
she said spray tan. I'm dead. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 times. Like, what are the odds? But I'm a good driver, I swear.
I know, right? I know. I'm like, I don't even try to go fast. I like taking my time getting from A to B. But didn't you have one you were driving? I can't remember where, but I just saw it on the internet. And you had your weapon in the car, and you said you got pulled over, and it was like a whole thing.
I was going 5 miles over the speed limit. Like, when he told me, I was like, but I was like, all right. But yeah, the first time I was like, here we go. I got a gun, loaded gun. Like, here, I knew I was in Virginia and they reciprocated. So I was like, I'm totally legal. And I just gave it to them. And then I've talked to other people who have also had to tell the cop that they had a loaded gun. And I think the phrase they've been told to say is, you don't reach for anything and I won't reach for anything.
Right. Yeah. Well,
okay. 10-2. Yeah.
My goodness. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and end it here for this one. Hopefully you'll come back and chat with me again later.
Of course. Yeah. I love all your people on here. I will have to introduce you to a friend who I met at the National Ladies Day. Her name's Natalie. She drove an hour and a half to vote for Hillary Clinton, and she could not be more opposite today. Very patriotic, and I think you guys would have a lot to talk about.
That would be cool. No, I'm always looking for people to talk to. I don't really know what I'm doing. This podcast.
No, it's great. It's just a fun conversation.
And I'm just meeting new people and seeing where it goes from there. So I would appreciate all the suggestions. I'm all about that. But yeah, that's all I have for now. Thank you so much for being on here.
No, thank you. Yeah.
If you guys haven't, check out the book and definitely look for the awesome headband.
High caliber headband.
High caliber headband. I need one. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Liberty, Lipstick, and Lead. I appreciate you so much. Please remember to follow, like, and subscribe. And if you enjoyed yourself and found some value, please leave me a 5-star review if you enjoyed today's episode. Until next time, stay empowered and stay safe.